Go crawl for it yourself, you crippled old man. I'm not your damn servant. Those words came out of my son-in-law's mouth like he was spitting poison. I'm Ben Carter, 58 years old, and I just asked Tim for a glass of water. Simple request, right? I had a broken leg, sitting on my own couch in my own house. The same house I'd been paying for while he lived here rent-free for the past 2 years. My daughter Sarah Carter Foster looked away, didn't say a word. Just stared at her phone like it was the most interesting thing in the world. I said nothing, picked up my crutches and went to the kitchen myself. But right there, in that moment, everything changed. That night, I made one phone call. The next day, they started losing everything. Let me back up a bit. I spent 30 years as an insurance fraud investigator. Started when I was 28, fresh out of college with a criminal justice degree. You know what that means? I got really good at spotting liars, people who smile while they plan to rob you blind, people who act concerned while they're setting you up for a fall. Tim Foster moved into my Riverside estate about 2 years ago, said it was temporary. His logistics company, Coastal Transport Solutions, was having a rough patch. Just needed a few months to get back on his feet. Sarah was pregnant then with their first child, and I figured, hey, family helps family, right? The house sits on 3 acres in Charleston, about 15 minutes from downtown. My grandfather built it in 1955 with his own hands, brick by brick. Spanish moss hangs from the old oak trees he planted. Wide front porch with white columns. It's worth about $1.2 million now, according to the last appraisal. Tim knew that number by heart. He also knew I lived alone since my wife Margaret passed 5 years back. Heart attack sudden as a thunderclap. One day we were planning a cruise for my retirement. The next day I was picking out caskets. That's when you learn who your real friends are. Most people disappeared after the funeral. Tim and Sarah stuck around. At first, Tim was everything you'd want in a son-in-law, called me dad from day one, fixed the leaky bathroom faucet without being asked, painted the guest cottage where they were staying, brought me coffee in the mornings while I read the paper on the porch. We'd sit out there for hours, talking about everything and nothing. Business strategies, Charleston politics, the best places to catch redfish. Tim had this way of listening that made you feel like your words mattered. He'd ask about my cases, the fraudsters I'd caught, the methods I used. Said he found it fascinating. I actually started thinking of him as the son I never had. Margaret and I tried for years to have more kids after Sarah, but it wasn't meant to be. Tim filled that gap, or so I thought. The first sign of trouble was subtle. About 6 months ago, Tim stopped calling me Dad, started calling me Ben instead, then just grunting when I talked to him. The morning coffee stopped coming. The helpful repairs around the house stopped happening. But I chalked it up to stress. His business was struggling. Sarah was dealing with morning sickness. New baby on the way. Money tight. We all go through rough patches, right? Then I had my accident. 6 weeks ago, I was heading out to get the morning paper when my foot went out from under me on the front porch steps, fell hard, broke my left leg in 2 places. The emergency room doctor said I'd slipped on some kind of oil residue, but I couldn't figure out how oil got on my wooden steps. Tim was helpful again after that. Drove me to doctor appointments, picked up my prescriptions, made sure I had everything I needed while I was laid up. That's when he started giving me supplements. These will help you heal faster, Dad, he said, handing me 2 small white pills with my breakfast. That was one of the last times he called me Dad. Doctor's orders. Problem was, I didn't remember any doctor prescribing supplements. When I asked Tim which doctor, he got vague. The orthopedic guy, he'd say. You know how these specialists are. They give you so much information it's hard to keep track. 2 pills every morning with breakfast, 2 more every evening with dinner. Tim was religious about it. If I forgot, he'd remind me. If I was running late, he'd bring them to me. Such a caring son-in-law, making sure his injured father-in-law got his medicine. Here's the thing about being a fraud investigator for 30 years. You develop instincts. When something doesn't add up, you feel it in your gut like a bad piece of fish. Those pills, they didn't add up. I started feeling foggy after about a week on them. Not tired exactly, but like my brain was wrapped in cotton. Words I'd known my whole life would just disappear mid-sentence. I'd walk into a room and forget why I went there. At first, I blamed it on the pain medication from the hospital. Then I thought it was just getting older. Hell, I was 58. Maybe this was what it felt like when your mind started slowing down. But the confusion got worse. I'd ask Sarah what time dinner was, then ask her again 10 minutes later, not remembering I'd already asked. I'd pick up the phone to call someone and forget who I was calling by the time I finished dialing. The worst part wasn't the confusion itself. It was watching Tim's reaction to it. Every time I stumbled over a word or forgot something simple, I'd catch him watching me with this look. Not concern, satisfaction, like he was checking items off a list. Sarah noticed the changes too, but she interpreted them differently. "Dad, maybe you should see someone," she'd say gently. "You've been through a lot with Mom's death and now the accident. Sometimes our minds need help processing trauma." I wanted to argue, but how do you explain that something feels wrong when you can't even remember what you had for lunch? So I nodded and said I'd think about it, while Tim nodded approvingly from across the room. That's when the financial conversation started. "Ben," Tim would say over dinner, "a house this size must be expensive to maintain, especially with property taxes going up every year in Charleston." He'd pause, cutting his steak with surgical precision. "Have you thought about what would happen to Sarah if something happened to you?" "What do you mean?" "Well, probate can be complicated. Estates this size sometimes get tied up in court for years. Sarah could end up losing everything to legal fees and taxes." Sarah would shift uncomfortably in her chair during these conversations, but she never told Tim to stop, never said it wasn't his business. She just sat there, pregnant and quiet, while her husband discussed my death like it was an upcoming vacation. Tim had a solution, of course. Always had solutions, that boy. "You should consider putting the house in both your names," he'd suggest. "Joint ownership. That way, if anything happens, Sarah inherits immediately. No probate, no court delays, no legal fees." I told him I'd think about it. But here's what 30 years of investigating fraud teaches you. When someone pushes too hard for financial changes that benefit them, you start asking questions. So I started paying attention in ways I hadn't before. Little things, like how Tim always got to the mailbox first. How he'd sort through the mail before bringing it inside, keeping some pieces and handing me others. How he'd answer my phone sometimes when I was napping, taking messages that somehow never made it to me. Then came that morning when everything clicked. The morning Tim told me to crawl for my own water. I was sitting on the couch, leg propped up, watching the news. Normal Tuesday morning. My throat was dry from the medication, and I asked Tim for a glass of water. Simple request. The kind of thing you ask family for without thinking twice. But Tim was on his phone, pacing around the living room, talking to someone about money. I could hear tension in his voice, the kind that comes when bills are overdue and creditors are calling. "Tim," I said during a pause in his conversation, "could you get me a glass of water, please?" He looked at me like I'd asked him to climb Mount Everest. "I'm busy, Ben." "I know, but I'm having trouble with the crutches, and go crawl for it yourself, you crippled old man. I'm not your damn servant." The words hit me like a slap, not just the cruelty of them, but the calculation behind them. This wasn't anger. This was contempt. This was someone showing their true face because they thought I was too far gone to fight back. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, 15 feet away. She heard every word. I know she did because she looked up from her phone when Tim spoke. Our eyes met across the room. I saw something flicker there, something that might have been shame or recognition. Then she looked back at her phone. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I didn't argue, didn't lecture, didn't point out that this was my house, my water, my hospitality, that had kept Tim's family fed and sheltered for 2 years. Instead, I reached for my crutches and stood up slowly, carefully, like the broken old man he thought I was. Every step to the kitchen hurt, but it was good pain, clarifying pain. The kind that burns away confusion and leaves you with absolute certainty about what's really happening. I filled a glass at the sink, the cool water running over my fingers. In the reflection of the kitchen window, I could see Tim back on his phone, completely relaxed now, talking about payment schedules and extension requests. He looked comfortable, settled, like a man who owned the place. That's when my brain started working like an investigator again instead of a confused old man. When had the supplements started? Right after my accident, 6 weeks ago. When had the confusion begun? A few days after the first pills. When had Tim's attitude changed from helpful to contemptuous? Gradually, as the confusion got worse. Pattern recognition. It's what I did for 3 decades. And this pattern was as clear as a neon sign. I stood in that kitchen, drinking my water, and made a decision. The confused, grateful father-in-law was going to keep playing his part, but Ben Carter, fraud investigator, was back on the case. That night, while Tim and Sarah slept, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to work. First, I stopped taking the evening pills, palmed them when Tim wasn't looking, and flushed them down the toilet later. For the first time in weeks, I slept with a clear head. The next morning, Tim handed me my usual supplements with breakfast. I thanked him, palmed them, and disposed of them in the bathroom trash, wrapped in tissue so Sarah wouldn't see them when she emptied the wastebasket. By noon, my head felt clearer than it had in a month. Words came back. Memories sharpened. The cotton fog lifted, and I could think again. Time to find out what Tim Foster was really up to. I started in his room while he was out on one of his business meetings and Sarah was at work. The guest cottage had been their temporary home for 2 years now. Temporary. That word was doing a lot of heavy lifting. The cottage had 2 small bedrooms, a kitchenette, and a living area that Tim had turned into his makeshift office. Stacks of papers covered every surface. Bills, contracts, correspondence. The paper trail of a man trying to keep a sinking business afloat. I started with the obvious stuff. Bank statements scattered across his desk showed a pattern that would have raised red flags in any fraud investigation I'd ever worked. Coastal Transport Solutions was bleeding money faster than a punctured artery. Monthly losses of $15,000, sometimes $20,000 revenue was sporadic and getting smaller. But the real treasure was hidden in a shoebox under the bed. Unopened mail. Dozens of pieces, all addressed to my house but clearly meant for Tim's business. Collection notices, legal threats, final demands. I spread them out on the cottage floor like evidence at a crime scene. The picture they painted was ugly. Tim owed money to everyone. Equipment leasing companies, insurance carriers, fuel suppliers, trucking brokers. The total came to about $180,000, but here's what really caught my attention. Every piece of mail was addressed to Coastal Transport Solutions at my address. Tim had registered his business using my property as the official location, without asking me, without even telling me. In the insurance fraud world, we call this address abuse. It's a way to hide assets and duck creditors. Register your failing business at someone else's address, and when the lawsuits come, they land on the property owner's doorstep instead of yours. I kept digging. Found loan applications where Tim had listed himself as a property manager for Riverside Estate. Found insurance forms where he'd claimed partial ownership of my house as collateral for business loans. The bastard wasn't just planning to steal my house. He was already using it as leverage for his failing business. But the smoking gun was in a manila folder tucked behind his computer. Medical evaluation forms from something called Palmetto Senior Care Assessment Services. Pre-filled forms describing my cognitive decline, my increasing confusion, my inability to manage financial affairs, all waiting for a signature. All waiting for the right moment to be filed with the court to declare me incompetent. I sat in that cottage for 2 hours, photographing every document with my phone. Bank statements, bills, loan applications, the medical forms, everything building a case the way I'd done hundreds of times before. When I was done, I put everything back exactly where I'd found it. Tim couldn't know I was investigating. Not yet. The confused old man had to keep playing his part while the investigator worked behind the scenes. That afternoon, I drove to Columbia to visit an independent lab I'd used during my insurance career. Dr. Patricia Morse ran toxicology tests for law enforcement and private investigators. Professional, discreet, and expensive. I handed her one of Tim's pills that I'd saved. I need a full analysis, I told her. Everything that's in this and what it would do to someone who took it regularly. How regularly, she asked. Twice a day for about 6 weeks. She raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. In her line of work, you learn not to. Results in 5 days, $400. I paid cash while I waited for the lab results. I did what any good investigator does. I followed the money. Tim's business registration led me to a maze of corporate filings that told a story of systematic fraud. Coastal Transport Solutions claimed to handle freight coordination for shipping companies along the East Coast. On paper, it looked legitimate. Good revenue, satisfied customers, growing business. The reality was different. Most of the clients listed in Tim's business filings didn't exist. The revenue numbers were fabricated. The whole operation was a shell game designed to get loans and credit lines that Tim had no intention of repaying. But the most interesting discovery came when I traced the business insurance claims. Tim had filed 3 major claims in the past 18 months: equipment theft, cargo damage, and a suspicious truck fire. Total claims, $95,000, all approved and paid out. Here's the thing about insurance fraud. The criminals always get greedy. They can't help themselves. Tim wasn't just running a fake logistics company. He was filing fraudulent insurance claims to fund his lifestyle. That's when I made the call that would change everything. Nick Palmer, Financial Crimes Division. Nick and I had worked together on a dozen cases during my last 5 years at the insurance company. He'd been a young analyst then, eager to learn from an old hand. Now he was a senior federal agent specializing in insurance fraud and elder abuse cases. Ben Carter, I said. I need 10 minutes of your professional time, Ben. Haven't heard from you since your retirement party. How's the fishing complicated? I've got a situation that needs federal attention. I laid it out for him. The business registration fraud using my address, the fabricated revenue figures, the insurance claims that looked suspicious as hell, the medical forms designed to have me declared incompetent, the pharmaceutical assault. Nick was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Then he said, "Send me everything you have, photos, documents, whatever you've collected. This sounds like a pattern we've been tracking. What kind of pattern?" Elder abuse schemes targeting property owners. We've seen 4 cases in the Carolinas this year with similar elements. Fraudulent businesses, address abuse, cognitive manipulation. Your son-in-law might be part of something bigger than a family dispute. I emailed him everything that night. Bank records, bills, photos of the medical forms, documentation of Tim's insurance fraud, a complete investigative package. 2 days later, Nick called back. "Ben, your case just became a federal priority. The insurance claims alone are enough for mail fraud and wire fraud charges. The elder abuse angle puts it in a special category. We're opening a formal investigation. Dr. Morse called the same afternoon with my toxicology results. Mr. Carter, the substance you gave me contains benzodiazepine compounds, specifically a combination designed to cause confusion, memory loss, and cognitive impairment. Someone taking this twice daily would experience symptoms mimicking early-stage dementia. How long would the effects last with regular dosing? The cognitive impairment would be cumulative, but if someone stopped taking it, they'd start clearing up within 48 hours. I'd been drug-free for 3 days. My head was clearer than it had been in weeks. The fog was lifting, and Ben Carter, the investigator, was fully operational again. Now came the hardest part of any investigation. Patience. Letting the target think they're winning while you build an airtight case around them. I went back to playing the confused old man. Every morning, Tim handed me those pills with a smile, and I thanked him for his concern. Every morning, I palmed them and flushed them down the toilet an hour later. Every day, I pretended to get a little more confused while my head got clearer. Tim bought the performance completely. He started making calls right in front of me, discussing the old man's condition with lawyers and medical professionals, talking about timeline acceleration and property transfers. He thought I was too far gone to understand what he was saying. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything, recording conversations on my phone, photographing documents, building a case that would destroy him in federal court. The trap was set. Tim just had to walk into it. He did that on a Thursday night over dinner. Sarah had made meatloaf, and we were eating like a normal family. That's when Tim pulled out the papers. "Ben," he said, setting his fork down with theatrical gravity, "we need to discuss your situation. I've prepared some documents that will help protect everyone. Power of attorney papers, medical directive forms, transfer documents for the house, everything needed to take control of my life and property. I've been forgetful lately," I said slowly, like I was struggling with the concept. "Maybe this would be good." Tim's eyes lit up. "Exactly, just a precaution. You sign these, and Sarah and I can help manage things when you're having difficult days. What if I don't want to sign?" That's when his mask slipped. The concerned son-in-law disappeared, and I saw the predator underneath. "Then we'll have to discuss other options," he said, his voice dropping all pretense of warmth. "There are facilities that specialize in cases like yours, Ben. Sarah and I have been talking, and we think it might be time to consider your long-term care needs." Sarah's face went pale. She was hearing this threat for the first time. I smiled and said I'd think about it. Tim gathered his unsigned papers with barely concealed frustration. He'd expected me to fold under pressure. Instead, I'd given him exactly what he needed to hang himself. I had his threats on recording now. Clear evidence of coercion and elder abuse. The federal investigation moved fast after that. Nick Palmer coordinated with local authorities and the state attorney general's office. They'd been tracking Tim's pattern across multiple states. I wasn't his first victim, just his most recent. But Tim made one final mistake that sealed his fate completely. He filed a civil lawsuit against me, claiming he'd personally invested $85,000 in property improvements and deserved partial ownership of my house. His lawyer submitted receipts as evidence. Every single one made out to Coastal Transport Solutions LLC, not to Tim Foster personally. Corporate expenses can't be claimed as personal investments. His own evidence proved our case for us. The lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. The judge ordered Tim to pay my legal fees, $8,000 out of his empty pockets. That's when the federal warrant came down. I was sitting on my back porch on a Tuesday morning when the black SUVs arrived. 3 of them moving like a coordinated military operation. Federal agents in windbreakers surrounded the cottage where Tim was sleeping off another night of stress drinking. They found everything: the fraudulent business records, the fake insurance claims, evidence of his elder abuse network spanning 4 states. Tim's scheme was part of a larger operation targeting property-rich seniors from Florida to Virginia. The charges were extensive: mail fraud, wire fraud, elder abuse, insurance fraud, identity theft. Tim was looking at 15 years in federal prison if he went to trial. He took a plea deal instead: 6 years, full restitution, and permanent forfeiture of any claims to my property. Sarah filed for divorce while Tim was awaiting sentencing. She moved back into the main house with baby Margaret, named after her grandmother. Having 3 generations under the same roof again felt like the natural order restored. I protected the house with an irrevocable trust before Tim's sentencing. Sarah's name is on everything now. When my time comes, she'll inherit without complications. No probate, no legal challenges, no way for future predators to threaten what my grandfather built. The pills are gone, but I kept the lab report in my safe. Evidence of what almost happened. A reminder that family betrayal comes in many forms, and the people closest to you can be the most dangerous. Tim served 4 years of his sentence, got out early for good behavior and cooperation with federal investigations into his elder abuse network. I heard he moved to Ohio, works at a warehouse now, lives in a studio apartment. His logistics company was dissolved, his assets seized, his future prospects limited to whatever job doesn't require a background check. Sarah and I never talk about those 6 weeks when I was drugged and confused. We don't need to. She knows what happened. She knows she should have spoken up sooner. But she also knows that families protect each other, even when protection comes too late. The house still sits on its 3 acres, Spanish moss still hangs from the oak trees, and 3 generations of Carters have called it home. That's the kind of legacy worth protecting. I learned something important through all this. Being old doesn't make you helpless. Being confused doesn't make you powerless, and being family doesn't give someone the right to destroy you. The skills that made you successful in your career don't disappear when you retire. The network you built over decades doesn't vanish when you turn 65. The instincts you developed through experience don't fade because your hair turns gray. Trust those instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. When someone pushes too hard for financial changes that benefit them, start asking questions. When family members suddenly become very concerned about your condition, document everything. Most importantly, never let anyone convince you that age makes you disposable. You built a life, a career, a legacy. You know things. You've seen things. You have value beyond what's in your bank account or your property deed. Use that knowledge. Protect yourself. Fight back when necessary. And remember that patience isn't weakness. It's the deadliest weapon in an experienced person's arsenal.